up, folks? Sean the Average Angler coming at you with another great video. And today we're going to go back in time. Back to when and how I learned to fish this technique. Might surprise you a little bit, might not, I don't know. It's kind of the funny thing is, it's kind of a technique that is sort of lost. Lost art, lost just somewhere in the generational change or whatever. I just don't think it's near as popular as it once was. Funny thing is, I did it in a video a couple years ago, and I didn't check the tackle that I had with me. I only had one of these with me, and man, I was whacking them on it. Then I broke it off. We're going to get into that today, show you what it is. If you're new to the channel, you like this kind of content, hit that subscribe button down there. Join the Average Angler community. This is a really, really good one, folks. I think you're going to enjoy it. All right, thanks for stopping by and watching. Let's get the show on the road. All right, now what bait are we talking about? I have been a jig fanatic since I started fishing. I think when I first got into bass fishing, D. Thomas was pretty popular and also a local guy. For those of you that don't know who D. Thomas is, he's commonly known as the grandfather of flipping around here, okay? He's the reason they put rod length restrictions on rods. And for those of you younger guys, you may not even know they had that, because I think they've since been lifted by most organizations. But at one time, they put a rod restriction to 7 foot 6 inches because D. Thomas went back east and was kicking everybody's butt with a new technique called flipping. Now, I think originally it was called tule dipping, because he used even a longer rod and just kind of reached it back and dipped down in there nice and quiet. Well, when the rod restrictions came out, they developed flipping. Anyway, because of that, I was really into jig fishing. And a lot of our highland reservoirs around my area are steeper rocky banks. It doesn't mean they're all that way. Some of them have longer clay-type points, that kind of stuff. Nonetheless, this technique was very, very good on those, and could be fished so many different ways. And what that is a Yamamoto spider jig. I think that's what they call it anyway. I don't have any packs on them. Oh, I do have some. Yep. Double-tailed hula grub is what this is called. And the beauty of the double-tailed hula grub, it just gets bit. And you could carry packs of this, and then you just needed your football heads, right? You put the color you want on the blah, 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 and you went out and fished it. Back when I started doing this, we were really into the 1 ton, okay? This is a 1 ounce, might be a 3/4, I don't know. These aren't labeled, but I'm gonna show you some things about them. This one I know is a 3/8, so you'll see, substantially bigger. This was one of my preferred heads and ones that I had made. And if you know where I can have them made, let me know, because I'm almost out. But you're gonna see, you see me flexing that hook. Okay, pretty easy. It's a light wire hook. You could fish this on a spinning rod, although I wouldn't suggest it since it's a 3/4 1 ounce, but you could do it. This hook, much stouter, although there's still a little flex. I can physically look at it and see it's thicker. Anyway, I like the light wire hook. Now, I usually fish these on 10 to 12 pound test, because a lot of times I was fishing them really deep, 40 to 50 feet. And you just take that jig, slide it on the hook there, and voila, you've got yourself a jig. Now, there's something about the Yamamoto, as we all know Yamamoto, there's just something about Yamamoto. Something about this in the water, okay? It's pretty dainty, if you ask me, because it doesn't have a lot of material there. In some bodies of water, they really like the jig just the way I just showed you right there. Back in the day, they used to make these skirts, and you could buy a pack of the skirts. And what it is it's actually 2 skirts. There's a half of one, okay? So you could cut it and use one, or you could put the 2 of them on and use the 2, which is what I like to do. And the skirts didn't come in every color. They were more of the basics. But you just slide it on up over there like so, and you got all this skirt material. I don't know what the hell's going on here. I must have rolled that baby under there. Oh, I did. And then, so now you can mix and match colors. This is a watermelon red skirt. And then you could just get your double-tailed grub, or if you wanted, a single-tailed grub, and just thread that baby on there. And then you had something with a little different color, something with a single tail instead of a double, and the single tails are bigger than the old double tail, right? So you get something a little different. Anyway, I find certain bodies of water really like this presentation more than this one. However, they eat both. I just like this option because on a lake where a lot of people were fishing, this version, you could change it up pretty simply by getting that double tail with the double skirt. Now the problem is Yamamoto discontinued the double skirt. So I have what I have. I still have half of a box here, and I think I got a few packs. Anyway, hopefully it's one of those things that they decide to return like they do some other things. But we want to talk more about this head because the 3/4 and 1 ounce was fantastic, and we called it the 1 ton, 1 ounce, 1 ton. The thing about fishing this 1 ton, even a 3/4 ounce, if you fished a 3/4 ounce on 10-pound line, man, that thing shot down like a rocket. And when you were fishing it down a rocky bank and you'd pop it up and it dropped down to the next one, that thing was cruising. I mean, there wasn't a lot of time it took for it to draw a reaction strike. And we fished these year round. They were very, very effective in the fall for some reason. A lot of TOCs on Orville back in the day were one throwing a spook and a 1 ton. Now, some other advantage you get other than just the pure reaction is if you were fishing it on the bottom and just dragging it, that thing was putting a lot of weight compared to, say, a 3/8 in that mud and stirring up a little mud like it looked like a crawdad was doing something on the bottom. Now, this is how I learned to fish jigs, to be honest with you, outside of flipping. I started out flipping. This was really kind of the first casting aspect of jig fishing that I did. And boy, was it fun. You could cover water with these. You could fish them fast. You could fish them slow. You could fish them fast while fishing them slow. I mean, if you just popped it up, you weren't covering a whole lot of terrain, but man, that thing would drop down to the next rock like a brick, just poof, really forcing the fish to react. Now, I've got a couple of OG originals from back in the day. This was actually a football head sold by Yamamoto. This was the football head for their hula grub. You see the nice long shank here. And one thing, if you guys don't know, Yamamoto baits are full of salt. So when you slide that over that bigger shank, it pushes salt out. So you already have a bait ready to go, even though it's brand new, much like a chewed up Yamamoto where that salt's coming out. You know, they always seem to get bit better. Well, that's how these were. However, the hook on this bait was so big, as you'll see there, and how much further back it came than that other one. And of course, much bigger than this custom made I had. That ain't gonna work. I just found that this would work sometimes with largemouth. Spotted bass and smallmouth I found to be a little more hook shy. So I really favored this one. And this hook's plenty strong enough for 10 to 12 pound test. I didn't need a bigger hook. Matter of fact, I can pull this one out of snags and continue to fish it because it was more compact. Now the great thing about fishing a 3/4 ton or a 1 ton, in my mind, is it really teaches you to feel the jig. You're fishing on a lighter line. Typically I would throw it on like a 734, 733 rod. And as you're popping it, it's dropping. You're starting to really develop a good feel to be in tune with your jig. And hey, sometimes maybe you wanted to pull it off and let it drop, not pop it up and let it drop. That's all figuring out the cadence for the fish for the day, right? But it really forced you to develop a feel for the jig. And the other nice thing about it is when they hit this one, they seem to crush it. And if they don't crush it, it's because they grabbed it while it was falling and you just don't feel it hit. Either way, they had that thing in their mouth. So with those big crushing bites, it really, again, puts you in tune with the feel of the jig bite. And that's really, I think, one of the draws to a jig bite is how they hit it. They hit it like they're trying to kill it. And spotted bass, I find a lot of times when they hit a regular jig, a lot of times they will try to hit it first to stun it or kill it and then come back and eat it. So you had to be careful about setting the hook too quick. You wanted to make sure they were there. This jig, they just seemed to eat it. I don't know. I might be able to call Joseph Bass Union and just buy some of his heads, because his heads are the right size. Okay? They're perfect. Same size. His hook's a wee bit stronger, but it would still serve the purpose of what I'm looking for in that bait. And he'll probably have the option of the weed guard, which would be great, even though most of the time you don't need it. For this type of jig, I'm not really throwing it into wood and stuff like that. I'm fishing a lot of rocks, a lot of rock, a lot of clay bank, mud banks, but I wanted clay was typically what I looked for. Mostly highland reservoirs. Around me, Berryessa, phenomenal, Orville, Shasta, McClure, Don Pedro, New Maloney's, San Antonio, Nacimiento. So, I mean, there are a lot of lakes around here where I'm at. Reservoirs, right? They're reservoirs. They're dammed up canyons, essentially. And all of them have that type of stuff where I want to throw that 1 ton, that 3/4 ounce. In the beginning, I threw the 1 ton a lot, and over time, I kind of adapted and got a better feel, and I started to realize that I didn't need to always do that. 3/4, I could fish. You just needed to figure out the speed of the fall. But one thing you will find a lot of times is these will catch suspended fish. May not catch them up in the water column, but they will chase that thing down because it flew by them so darn fast, and they will eat it immediately when they get to the bottom. Now, again, I've told you, rod something in a 7'3" to 7'5", medium to medium heavy, depending on the brand. You want a decent bend in the top half of the rod, so maybe a fast action. Some brands are a little faster than others, so maybe a medium fast in some. You need to determine that based on the rod brand you use. I can tell you on a Powell, I would have thrown a 753. In the iRod Air, I'm going to throw the 753. So Dobbins, it would be a 753. Daiwa, their numbers are a little different, and I don't recall having a rod from Daiwa that I was familiar with to use. 10 to 14 pound fluorocarbon, 100% fluorocarbon, no need for braid. This is a light wire, sharp Gamakatsu hook. As you see there, it sticks very, very well. You don't need a ton of hook setting power. Now, if you can get something with a weed guard, and if you guys know a brand, hey, drop it in the comments. Let me know, because I'd like to get some. If you got a light weed guard, you can start throwing it in some brush, and there's nothing wrong with throwing these in brush. These things get bit so well, especially for spotted bass and smallmouth. Largemouth bass eat them very well as well, but you want to probably fish it a little bit different. I'd be a little bit more to the dragging, slower application with the largemouth. Spotted bass, smallmouth, very reactionary to sudden movements and those fast movements all winter long. Okay, this little job here is how I learned to fish a jig, and I think it could help you learn to fish a jig too. Now, this isn't probably real good for you pond guys. Sorry. Creeks, rivers, probably not the best bait for that. But if you have a highland reservoir or a canyon type reservoir in your area, this is a great one to pick up and give a try. I'm Sean, the Average Angler. Thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next one.